Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Mangmi Air X, probably the best handheld you can get for under $100. We don't usually get handhelds in this form factor for so cheap. Usually when we're looking at the sub $100 category, we're looking at things like the TrimUI Brick and the Zoo Retro V32, which I will be reviewing soon on this channel, and even the Retroid Pocket Classic, which is a lovely premium Game Boy style device. This is around $130, so almost double the price of this. We don't usually get this more PSP style device for so cheap. But with that in mind, it is of course not going to run the latest, greatest systems. It's going to be more for the older systems, and we will get into that in more detail throughout this video. The device is somewhat similar to my Retroid Pocket 5 and incredibly similar to the previous Retroid Pocket 4. It is ever so slightly larger than the Retroid Pocket 5 and a little bit more comfortable. The coating is really soft and that goes throughout the whole body. The Retroid Pocket 5 has an all-glass front screen which feels very premium, but the plasticky front on the Mangmi feels really nice in the hands and a little bit nicer than the Retroid Pocket 5. It also has the same size joysticks, so if you already have other Retroid, AYN or AYANEO devices, you can freely take off the joysticks of those ones and use them on the Mangmi. I'm actually really liking the stick caps of the Mangmi and trying them out on my other devices. They're slightly concave and very comfortable. The sticks are pretty much identical to what you would find in a Retroid or AYN device, including the fully customizable and independent joystick LEDs, where you can choose from 36 different colors and also decide how bright or how dark you would like them. The joysticks are Hall effect joysticks, so they shouldn't suffer from any drifting issues, and they feel fantastic. Hands down the best feeling joysticks on anything in this price category that I've ever tried. The face buttons also feel very nice, they're not too noisy, and they're quite squishy but also quite firm. The D-pad seems very large on this device, and I'll talk about this more a little bit later when I say who I think this device would be good for, but it feels very nice, accurate, it's just a good D-pad. I'm not the biggest fan of the start and select buttons being down in the bottom right corner and being these little clicky buttons. I often find them a little bit annoying to press during games. And we also have the Android back button and home button, which are also clicky buttons in a quite annoying place, but due to the nature of the buttons, I never really need to press them particularly quickly, so the positioning doesn't really bother me. We have nicely colored volume buttons and a power button up here, which are all clicky and lovely. And we have similarly clicky LB and RB buttons. I'm not usually a fan of clicky style buttons like this, but they have a very shallow travel, which makes them nice and easy to click. The triggers are one of the real highlights of the device. They are incredibly smooth. They are not the clicky style switch triggers, they are analog style triggers that have the full travel, and they are delightful. We also have a nice fan vent on the back of the device as well as the top as well, all standard stuff. A USB-C port at the bottom of the device for charging, which is not the fastest. I only seem to get in the single digits for wattage here. I did see it go up to around 9 watts before, but it's not like the 20, 30 or 40 watts we get of more expensive handhelds. There is a headphone jack, an SD card slot, and down-firing speakers. I'm a big fan of front-firing speakers, but they have been placed in a way that they won't be covered by your hands. The grips of the device are lovely and ergonomic. It is a supremely comfortable handheld. And as you wrap your hands around the grip, there's no real way you could obscure those speakers. They're placed far enough away from the contoured edge that you don't muffle them in any way, so they sound fine. In fact, the controls are so good, the only nitpick I could possibly bring up about them is I don't like the shade of yellow they used for the X button. I wish it was a more bright, vibrant shade of yellow. And if that's the worst thing I can say about the controls, then you know they're pretty good. One of the real selling points of this device is the display. It's a 1080p 60Hz panel that is beautiful. The colors are lovely, it's sharp and crisp. One caveat to this though is that because the handheld is not particularly powerful, you're not going to be running that many games at 1080p. You're going to be running a lot of systems at a lower resolution, but when you can run games at 1080p, it looks amazing. Here I'm using ESDE to set up a nice beautiful front end so I can scroll through all my games. And let's jump into one of my favorite game tests for testing screens and speakers, which is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Old retro systems like this are where this device is going to shine. Reliving old memories like the Megadrive and the PlayStation 1, you're going to be able to enjoy that beautiful screen and the lovely controls. I spoke a lot so far about how nice the analog sticks are, but the D-pad is also very comfortable as well. This will be a great device if you want to play through those old retro games. I haven't done extensive battery tests yet, but we have a nice large 5000 mAh battery and a quite low powered device that sips power, so you should see some pretty good battery life here. These older systems run really well, like they will on pretty much any device, and they look beautiful. Anything up to the PlayStation 1 is going to run really nicely on this. It's a really nice handheld for reliving those old gaming memories. I've been enjoying getting back into Ready to Rumble boxing. What is this game? And where this device truly shines is PlayStation Portable emulation. Here I've upscaled this game to 4 times native resolution, 1080p. It will depend on the game whether you're able to upscale that much, and for most of the other games I've shown you so far, I actually haven't used almost any upscaling because the CPU and GPU of this device are just really not very strong, and you're going to run into limitations pretty quickly. So if you're the kind of person who wants to upscale everything to high definition, you're going to want to spend more and get a better handheld. But if you're happy enough with the default resolution in most cases, maybe just bumping it a little bit here and there, you're going to be very happy with this. And I was able to bump some of the games up quite a bit, like here in Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. Sorry guys, I'll just keep this gun safe. Speaking as someone who had and loved his PSP, this has been a great way to get back into those games. And I of course cannot make a video of the PSP without showing Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Tag Force, one of my favorite PSP games that I used to play loads. And here with that 4 times upscale to 1080p, it looks absolutely glorious. And once again, it's so comfortable. If you're someone who had a PSP and you really enjoyed it and you want to get back into PSP gaming, this is a great device to do that with. However, once you go beyond PSP, you're going to have some problems. Once you go on to things like the PS2, even the Dreamcast, the GameCube, you're going to have some problems. And I wouldn't recommend this device for any of those systems. PS2 is a bit of a mixed bag. Pro Evolution Soccer 6 is a game I usually play on other devices, and it usually runs pretty well. So here is Pro Evolution Soccer 6, and as you can see, it's not really in a playable state. I even tried to lower down all of the graphical settings, and unfortunately, it just doesn't play well. Even as I just scored a beautiful volley with Thierry Henry, that kind of goes against my point, but my point stands, it doesn't run particularly smoothly. Auto Modelista is a game that is pretty famous at this point for being super easy to run. On the Retroid Pocket 5, I was able to upscale it to something crazy like 5 times resolution. And here it actually runs okay. This would be a good opportunity for me to show you the performance overlay that comes with the Mangmi Air X. So by holding down the home button, you get this side panel with a few basics like brightness, sound, screenshots, all the kind of things you could just access from the top bar up here, but nice and easy without having to swipe down. We also have our button layout as well, where you can change between Xbox and Switch layouts. Things like inverting the joystick directions, turbo fire. Work mode is whether you want to use the native controls of the device for applications that support it, and you can change it to screen mapping mode, where you can set up controls for games that don't support controllers natively and get them working. But here on the left side of the panel is the most interesting part, the performance panel. Here shows your FPS, CPU and GPU usage, RAM usage, whether you have performance mode turned on, which I just have running 100% of the time, whether you have your fan on or off. Unfortunately, there's no fan control. There's just either on or off, and it's a little bit noisy. It's not super loud by any means, but you can hear it if I bring it up to my microphone. So when I use the device normally, I have the fan on at all times. It doesn't bother me. But just for the recording of this video, I'm turning the fan off so the background can be nice and quiet. Performance overlay is what we want to toggle on, and here across the top of the screen it's going to show all of these details: your frames per second, your RAM, CPU and GPU usage, the fan speed, which is either going to be 0 or 5500. As of yet, I've not found a way to change that. It's also going to show your CPU and GPU temperatures as well, but I'm really just concerned with the FPS value up here. So as you can see right now, we are holding steady at 60 frames per second. And the lowest I managed to drop to is around 56. Now I am seeing my CPU get pretty hot into the 90s now, so maybe I should turn the fans on, but it's okay because I'm going to quit out of the game in a second anyway and show you something else. And this game in particular is running at a 1.5 times resolution multiplier. The previous football game was running at 1 times and it still couldn't handle it. So I wouldn't recommend this device for PS2, it just doesn't seem to have the power. But I can now lead this into another good use of this device. Here is the PS2 game Bully. And as you can see, just like the Pro Evolution Soccer game, even at a 1-time resolution, it's barely running at all. It's a horrible experience. Very, very laggy. And I could not recommend this device for PlayStation 2 gaming. But Bully also has an Android port. So here is the Android version of Bully. And as you can see, this is running beautifully. Super buttery smooth. Yeah, give him the spear! So this is another great use case for this handheld. It is an Android handheld running Android 14, so we do have the option to run lots of different Android ports. So while PlayStation 2 doesn't work very well, Dreamcast is also hit and miss as well. Virtua Tennis like this starts out fine and then starts to lag over time. Crazy Taxi plays really nicely and can even be upscaled to look beautiful on the screen, but once again this is another mixed bag. But with the option to run Android ports, we can get some really great games running on here. Now again, just like the other systems I mentioned before, it's not perfect. Big games like Fortnite and Genshin Impact, they are not going to run on here. It just doesn't have the power for that. I even tried Call of Duty Mobile, which didn't seem to run that well either. We're going to need to stick to the games that are more simplistic to run, the lighter games. Things like Balatro. Balatro runs absolutely flawlessly on here, just as you would expect from a little card game. And I know a lot of people who would think Balatro is all the game they need, and they can waste pretty much their whole life just on this. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown unfortunately is too demanding for this handheld. But a game that's famously easy to run, Cuphead, seems to be running pretty well at around 50 frames per second. I also tested out the Android port of Hollow Knight's Silksong, which is still a work in progress. The version I have doesn't yet have gamepad support, and you need to use the on-screen touch controls, which could be a good opportunity to map those controls with the built-in Mangmi software. So we can bring the left joystick over to here, and I'm going to just randomly assign A, B, X, and Y to all of these buttons on the screen. I'm not sure if these are the optimal controls, but let's just assign a button to everything and see how it works. So here we are. And as you can see, it is working. But we're only getting around 20 frames per second, and we do actually seem to be frozen now as well. We seem to be maxing out the GPU, so I'm not sure if this port is going to be playable or not. But all of this got me thinking about what kind of games work well. And I realized the games that are working really well here are kids games. Cartoony games that are not too strenuous on the system, so I downloaded some more kids games to try out. Here is Minecraft, downloaded from the Play Store, and it's running really smoothly here. It looks great, it controls well. Here is Roblox from the Play Store, which is another game that I know is quite popular with some of my students. I'm currently being followed by a brown bunny, a white rabbit, and an emo bird. I have no idea what's going on, but it's running pretty well. It's not perfectly smooth. I do notice it stopping a little bit, but I think if I was a kid, I wouldn't even notice that, and I wouldn't care. Stardew Valley also looks incredible on this screen and runs really well. It also has a distinct advantage over the Portmaster version if you're using a Linux handheld, because the Android version of this game is fantastic. It allows you to control it with the touchscreen. It also lets you save and resume quickly without needing to sleep in a bed. And probably my favorite feature is it allows you to pinch the screen like this to quickly zoom out and zoom in. We can also try some online gaming. Here is Stumble Guys. but it is not the best experience. It feels a little bit laggy, both in terms of the graphical performance and also the internet connection as well. And probably my biggest disappointment with the device overall is that it can't really handle GeForce Now. I subscribe to GeForce Now and it essentially just transmits a video over the internet, so it shouldn't matter that the device isn't that powerful. So I thought I could play Battlefield 6 on this with a nice comfortable grip, a great screen, for less than $80. That was going to be an absolute home run that I was going to rave about in this video. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be able to handle it very well. There is a distinct and noticeable lag upon every single movement. When I move the stick, it then moves what feels like half a second later. It's very delayed. I'm not sure why this is. I've tried lowering all of the graphical settings. I'm streaming at 720p rather than 1080. I've turned the bitrate down, and I have gotten into contact with Mangmi over this. This is actually one of the reasons I've delayed reviewing this device for about a week now, because I've been trying to find a solution for this. Mangmi were really cooperative with me. They told me they've passed it on to the tech team. They said they are looking into it, and I will be sure to let you guys know if there is an update to this. I will even make a dedicated video to GeForce Now on this device because I think it will be a great feature for it. But as of now, we cannot really play it here. And one thing I just forgot to mention is there is also a built-in game launcher, just like this, which lets you easily launch into your games. I haven't found a way to actually add artwork to this or to customize which app it opens with. It seems to always want to open everything with RetroArch, but it does come set up with RetroArch pre-configured and this game launcher to get you into games easily. So who do I think this Mangmi Air X is for? Well, I think it's for three different kinds of customer. First of all, I think it's great for someone just getting into the scene. Someone who doesn't have any device yet, this is going to be their first device, and they just want to get started with the old retro games they grew up playing and maybe grow into the hobby later and get something more expensive down the line. For $80, you're getting a fantastic start here. The second kind of customer I think this would be good for is someone who already has a gaming PC or a Steam Deck, you already have a Switch, you already have all that kind of stuff, and you just want something small and light to throw in a bag and play things like SNES and Game Boy Advance games. That's also going to be great for you. But the third kind of customer I think this would be great for is a kid. I think this is the best handheld I've tried so far if you want to buy something for your kids, or maybe a kid in the family. I have a nephew who has a Switch already, and it would be cool to get him into those old retro games I used to play. So if I was getting something for him, this is exactly what I would buy, because it's extremely soft. Compared to any other handheld I've used, it's so smooth and soft, and it has a fully plastic screen. It's so different to the Retroid Pocket 5 that's all glass and might smash. There have been plenty of people who have smashed these. This is all plastic, all soft, very comfortable. It has a big D-pad that's really easy to use. It's just delightful. So I think this really would be a great gift for a kid in your family. If you pick one up right now from the affiliate link in my description below, it just got released and they are available to send out right now, and you even get a free case with it. One of the nicest cases I've seen on any handheld yet. It is extremely smooth, and the device of course fits perfectly as it's custom made for it. This is a lovely package and a lovely gift. I sound like a TV salesman right now. Buy one now and get 3 free mops. Just be aware you cannot play the latest greatest systems like the Nintendo Switch 2 or something ridiculous. Keep it to PlayStation 1, PSP and lower, and you're going to have a fantastic time with this. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.